Guess what? You're watching Heart Talks with Sheila Sistar. It's a special show. I know you'll be glad you tuned in.
No, not yet. Not yet.
It's gone. You're live with Sheila Sistar on Heart Talks.
Good day, peeps. Welcome to today's edition, or actually it's probably about the third edition we've done today. Today, my guest. Oh, man. Took me 2 years to get this one. He's a hard one to settle down, get him scheduled. He's always got his head up in the sky, looking for some life up there. I think he came down from the sky. Tell everybody about This is my dear friend, Kosta Makers. Kosta, welcome to Heart Talks.
Thank you, Sheila. It's a pleasure to be here. I know it's taken a while, but we are here, and this is being recorded for posterity now. So, in a way, we'll never leave.
Right? It's written in stone now.
I think so. Thank you for having me on here, though. You're wonderful.
When we talked the other day, he said he promised that he wouldn't act out too much, and I said I don't promise anything.
I'm scared. Either that or I'll have to compete with you, and that could get illegal. I mean, it could get.
Well, for those of you who don't know Mr. Fancy Pants here, this guy has been on Ancient Aliens. He's been talking with Dr. Greer, Stephen Greer. He's been on every ET interview that you can find on Facebook. When I told him we were going to do video, he goes, "Oh, no, I'll have to do my hair." I'm just so grateful that you did those little shows in preparation for doing Heart Talks.
It was all I know. It was all rehearsing for tonight. And I did my hair for you.
It is. It looks good. It's shining. We're from the same tribe.
I was gonna say same planet. Did we arrive on the same ship? Possibly.
Yep. I think so. I think we're kind of all of us have got this. I think there's something about us. We've been to the same salon, same universal salon or something. Well, listen.
Hey, you're on.
Yeah.
Okay. We just had some tech problems. I'll tell you, this happens so often whenever we get some high energy, whenever we get into some touchy subjects. I don't know what happens, but we do often have tech problems. Can you hear me now, Kosta?
Yeah, I'm fine. I can see and hear you fine.
Great. Well, I'm sure in all your experiences, you've experienced some tech problems here and there.
Yeah, I've been doing a lot of interviews in the last few years, and of course, there's going to be a run-of-the-mill glitches that do happen, and you account for those and you recover.
Right.
But there was clearly very deliberate, some kind of interference would come in. I remember the time.
I'm having problems on this end.
You're good, Sheila. His is slowing down now. You're still fine.
Okay.
He should recover.
Okay.
Trying to do that, and she had to, I think, recreate her Skype profile or something, like in the moment, within those 5 minutes, and then we got her on and finished things off. But those are the energies of our times. There are control groups. Many of us are being monitored in many ways, all over the world, but especially in the United States. Anybody who's a light worker will have stories of how clearly the darker energies, have come in and interfered. But the part that I want to, concentrate on is the fact that we need to talk more about the light forces. We're supposed to be light workers, and they are there. And in the end, they are far more powerful than what the dark groups are trying to do. And some of those are being transmuted to the light as we speak. So I would rather concentrate on what's going right. And as we talk about, as we get into this, I'll have examples and things to say about the good news, what's going on in the planet and in our lives, until such a time as the dark is totally transmuted, and we don't even have to have that as part of the conversation with glitches and things that happen, because that won't happen anymore. Not in that way.
Right. And as a light worker, there's no doubt we will win this.
It's already won on the inner planes. I think it's just a matter of time before it works out in our three-dimensional time and space. So yeah, I share your optimism. And like many people, I'm sure you wish it were yesterday, that we would see all the changes we want to. But at least for now, that's not how our time and space continuum is working. So we've got to work through it and wait.
Right. Right. No more waiting game. We have to start taking action. That's what this show was all about. Rachel took action. She heard a message from Spirit that she needed to help us have a voice, and she's doing a very good job. And it feels like we're doing something good, and we're spreading this good word around it. And if we're going to create our new world, if we're going to create our own worlds, you get to choose what you think about and where your attention is, and your attention is very valuable. And let's talk about letstalk.com. That is an amazing community that you have founded. It's like what, 11,000 people are in that. That's huge. That is amazing. Talk a little bit about that community.
Okay, I could talk for hours. Like you said before, it's my passion. Right now we're about 11,000 members in more than 100 countries, and those are the ones I know about. But we're growing all the time. ETLetsTalk.com was founded by me in December of 2012. Before that, I had other communities and such, and so I was already active on the internet organizing. But the ETLetsTalk.com idea was really born then, and we built it from scratch through the help of good people. And the aim was, and still is, to teach everyday people how to make their own individualized extraterrestrial ET contact. Hence the name ET Let's Talk, which, thanks to my wife Hollis, was a beautiful invention of words that came to her, because it says exactly what we're about. Hey, in a friendly way. ET, hey, let's talk. We're very much everyday people, so we're not standing on some kind of ceremony or in an ivory tower, writing white papers and such. And that's wonderful for other people that are doing that. But this community is really an experiencer community. That's what we focus on. There are simple tools that are given to folks to learn how to make their own contact. And within the community, on the website and also on Facebook and soon on other social media, the members of the community can talk to each other. The whole idea is it's a community. Many of us may never meet, but through the beauty of the internet, as you know, you become a virtual community, and you're there, especially with this topic, to support each other and to make it a safe place where people feel they can go and tell their ET stories. And believe me, there are all types of people with all kinds of stories in their lives who have had to hold back. And I hear from them all the time how happy they are to find ET Let's Talk, the community, where they can make friends and learn things and share and feel like, oh my God, I'm not the only one. I don't have to be a weirdo in my family or in my workplace or to my partner. So that's the idea in a nutshell, is to to have the community to be supportive, to do the contact. Now, there's a little bit of a backstory to all that, if you'll allow me to tell that.
Yes.
It's more about just the lights in the sky. That's what I like to tell people. And I'm the first to be still fascinated by that. Now, many, many years later, after having many contact experiences of different kinds, for some reason, I still love to be that, like a 12-year-old kid, and see the ships up there that I've learned to identify as not being terrestrial, glowing, moving at fantastic paces, doing incredible maneuvers, flashing in response to our thoughts in different ways, clearly interacting and communicating with us. I still love the lights in the sky. But what I tell my community is by using the tools that we have to make connection, you can also have ground contact. The ETs have creative ways to work with electronics, or through lucid dreams, through telepathy, through touches on a knee or on a shoulder, so many, to let you know that they are there. So this is kind of like a real continuous experience. It can go from the sky to the ground, and I think that thrills people and makes them feel like they've actually accomplished something, and that this is not just their imagination. But yeah, back to the backstory. When I started this community, I wondered, well, what do I do with this thing? I don't know how much interest there is out there. I'll get on the internet, compile a mailing list, get a website, just the standard kind of things. When someone has an idea, you build a foundation. Okay. Well, I managed to have some communication with some ET friends, and I'm not alone in that. As I found out in the community, a lot of people in different ways have their own kind of contact. Where
now, are you talking like telepathy?
Telepathy, yeah. Yeah, and yet I know people who have, far more in the minority, have face-to-face contact. They don't like to publicize that because the time isn't ripe yet for them to be out in the open. But that time will come. Mine was through telepathy. And as I was sitting there pondering, okay, what do I do with this community? What are my goals? Just get a bunch of people together to use consciousness and meditate? I mean, that's cool. But I was clearly requested, and this is almost verbatim, they asked me, create as many ET contact groups as possible in as many places as possible as soon as possible. I said, nice. Okay, that's clear. I can run with that. I'm a numbers kind of guy. Give me some numbers, give me some goals, right. Give me a project plan.
Right. And when was this?
This would have been just about the time I started the community, again in December. Actually, I think it was more in the fall that I got that message, and then the website was built a little bit after that, or in the same time frame. So let's call it the fall of 2012. Not that long ago. Yeah. They went on to say, as a way of like giving me the fuller picture, why do they need so many in so many places and all that? The reason is, they said, because as human beings make contact with them in greater and greater numbers, it gives the ETs more permission to come openly in the skies in many places where humans are doing the interacting. And by giving them permission to do that, they show up and even more humans will see them. That will cause more humans to want to communicate and bring them out in even more places, and they will show up in more places. They had a phrase for this. They called this process a virtuous circle, kind of a feedback loop. The more you do it, the more they come, the more they come, the more you do it. The more you do it, the more they come. And it just keeps growing. And the end result of doing all that was, not just to see how many numbers you can get, but literally to see how many numbers you can get all over the world, so that at some point, some tipping point, so many people on Earth would have seen them. And I don't know what that number is. I'm not privy to that kind of information. But there has to be some kind of tipping point where so many people on Earth would see them and believe in the presence that no control group on Earth could ever after suppress any knowledge of the ET presence here. And they're here by the millions. And that's what they're looking for. Our friends are, that is that tipping point. And that's what etletstalk.com, it really is all about. We have features on the website and different things, but at the end of the day, the more people I can find who are genuinely interested in this, in whatever location they are, to kind of hook in to the network, become part of our regular meditations and contact, well, the better for that, because I feel that it's fulfilling the mission that was laid out for me to do. And let me be quick to say, this is not just my mission. Somebody has to start things sometimes, but this really is a community effort. There would be nothing for me to facilitate and organize. And you've probably heard me say this, Sheila, in our conversations. There would be nothing there if nobody showed up, if nobody had faith and enthusiasm and interest. So really, I am grateful to the thousands of people who have heard the note that was sounded in the beginning of, hey, show up, have showed up, have stayed, have brought in their friends, and we continue to grow that way. So that's our process.
Well, let's talk about what one of these gatherings would be like.
Well, we have, now let me back up and say that with the CE5, the Close Encounters of the Fifth Kind protocols, which get customized by everybody, but there's a certain core, there is the ability to do the contact anytime you want. There's some people that do it daily, some weekly, some monthly, in any place that's convenient and safe for you to do it. So this is like a big open party that gives you the entire control of when and where and how often you want to do it. Now, having said that, from the beginning, of etletstalk.com, I founded the Global CE5 Initiative, which started with, I think, about 40 groups. And the idea was very simple. Though people can do the contact anytime they want, and they should, often, wouldn't it be nice if once a month, on a Saturday, nearest the time of the new moon, which is the darkest of the sky, which is different from every month, but I would publish the dates. I did the astronomical research and would tell the people in the community, here are the dates for the next 12 months, the Saturdays when it's the darkest of the moon, or rather the darkest of the moon, the darkest of the sky, so that you can actually see stuff up there. Believe me, if you've been out in the sky, the difference between a full moon or a half moon and a dark moon is huge. You know, the sky is just more dramatic with the new moon. So that was the idea. Let's coordinate the community once a month on a Saturday, and I've been serving as a cheerleader for that. And during a 24-hour period on that Saturday, all over the world, wherever we are, let's just visualize ourselves as a network of light, as forerunners of humanity, the advance guard of those who are interested in contacting our ET friends. And with that in mind, let's contact them. And then I would urge people to send in reports of what they experienced and publish them on the website and on Facebook, so that we could get a feedback like, hey, what did you see? What did you experience? And everybody's got a little bit different story, and it inspires other people and helps other people persist who don't have a contact right away, knowing that there are those that have. So that was the big idea with the Global CE5 Initiative. It's still going on. We're now in our 6th year, and that gathering is a virtual gathering. So you asked me to describe what a gathering, and I can get in more detail about an individual gathering. But the big one for etletstalk.com is the Global CE5 Initiative once every month. And I do want to say that there are other wonderful networks and people on Facebook who have become active wonderfully in their own way and are holding mass contact events. I'm thinking of James Ian Doley for one, and 4 times a year. So that the whole idea is that the center of this movement should be everywhere, because it's going to be more rigorous that way. It's going to be more solid. You can't, if one person should falter or get out of the work, there will still be a network of people doing this and spreading. And so I've always promoted the idea that what I do every month is not the only thing anybody should organize. I'm happy that other people like James step up and organize theirs too, because it just helps the whole network build that way, and we get more thousands of people involved. So it's a growing organism is what this is.
Right.
And that's the big picture. It's we're on the forefront, all of these different networks, doing something really cosmic. We're talking to ET, and people might ask, okay, what is the reason? You see the lights in the sky, you write a report, cool. You tell your friends, cool. Now what? Well, part of what I guess I preach, and I can't speak for other people, but it's also from communications I've gotten from ET where they have clearly told me, we want you, meaning us humans, to think of us not as gods, coming here to rule, coming here to solve everything for you, but think of us as family. And they literally said, we're elder brothers and sisters and cousins with more experience further down the spiritual path than you and more technologies, but we've come the way you have. We survived. We didn't destroy our civilizations. And we're coming back out of compassion and love to help those who, like in our civilization, are still faltering and being on the edge of either doing something great or destroying it all. So they're here out of that compassion. And the idea is that we are co-creators, partners with them. That's the way they think of us. And they ask that we solve the problems that we can solve, because there are many that we've created as humans, and that we need to learn to get along and stop our wars and our bickering and stop judging each other for skin color or gender or sexual preference or you name it. Human beings have a million ways to put each other down. Those are the kinds of things we can solve ourselves. But the ETs know that there are other problems that have grown so gargantuan that, and also because of the activity of the control groups, it takes the ETs' work, technology, and efforts to neutralize and fix some of those problems. So this is, I believe, and what I'm excited about, it's a true partnership. You do what you can do, I can do what I can do. We talk, we communicate, and together we're greater than the sum of either of us alone, because we synergize, and that way we'll get the new earth. We'll get the golden age, what I call, and others call, it's not original, the golden age of Gaia, that so many people really, really are wanting. And so ETLetsTalk.com is offering a community where you can work for it. What I also want to say is that at the time I founded ETLetsTalk.com and the Global CD5 Initiative, I also founded the People's Disclosure Movement. And what that is something unique, because instead of waiting for governments or institutions to disclose, instead of being passive and hoping and petitioning maybe and writing letters and waiting for someone official to get in front of a mic and say they're here, well, that may happen, but why wait for that is what I was thinking. Why not take the positive energy, the co-creative energy you have,
right,
and create your own disclosures? So I tell people every time we go out and make our own contact and then tell a family friend and bring someone new in and they tell someone else, and we're doing this from all spots all over the world, we are the people's disclosure. We're taking our power back by being the initiators and disclosing ourselves, rather than waiting and praying that some government or some president or prime minister will make it okay and tell us. And like I said, maybe that'll happen. That'll be great. But it's been a while. Let's do it ourselves. Let's get to work. Power to the people's disclosure movement.
That's right. Oh, my God. And it is truly a unique relationship. We talk about this all the time. Everybody is having such unique relationships with the voice, with themselves. Anybody who has done some transmissions or channeling, we haven't been waiting.
No.
We haven't been waiting for a very long time. There's nothing we're waiting for. We're already in action. And this show is just another example of that, because the idea of Heart Talks is to give a safe and supportive place for people to talk about these things that you would otherwise, you have to stay in your community. And it's so wonderful to have a community where you can use all the words to describe exactly what your experience is and not have to hold back. And for some of my younger viewers who are just, I have quite a few young viewers who are just learning about all this. They probably have not ever been told you can have communications with ETs. And there are lots of people who are having this, and it comes in the form. Can you talk about how that? Talk a little bit about how those messages come to you, and who's getting these messages? What are we doing with these messages?
That's an excellent question. It gets to the real core of the matter. Let me say that when you have thousands of people making contact, there will be thousands of ways that contact happens. Some similarities, some classic patterns that you do see over and over, and yet everyone seems to be individual and how they get it, and I do hear about that. So I can give you just some examples. Again, other than the lights in the sky, and there's a great variety there. I have people who had flyovers of craft just a few hundred feet that they could practically throw a stone and hit the magnetic field or whatever field they're using, and see the shape of it and the lights in the windows. You know, many times people have reported that, and they take pictures. Other people just see dots of light in the sky and doing incredible maneuvers. And then, like I've seen, suddenly a pair of fighter jets are chasing that light. So you know someone else has been tracking, and it's kind of validating what you've seen, because they will not scramble jets to chase satellites or civilian aircraft and all that. So many times we have seen that happen. Now, as far as like personal communication, yes, telepathy. People report lucid dreams where ET faces will appear. They will be talked to, given advice. People report healing. They may not see anything, but they'll feel an incredible energy and vibration go throughout some part of their body or their whole body. Again, that varies. And afterwards, they will find something has been healed, or maybe they'll just feel an incredible peace in their spirit has been like refreshed and renewed, and they have felt great love and compassion just enfold them. When you have an experience like that, you know, you can't make that up, and you come away one way or another, you're changed, whether you want to deny it or whether you embrace it and say, I want more, and then seek it. So I'm not sure if I address the core of what you wanted as far as the communication there.
Well, yes, because there are so many ways of communication. Just like you said, mine has been through meditation, through, what we call dreams. It's actually, for me, it's been astral travel. I've been on board ship. I've escorted people to ships. I've met. I mean, I'm lucky that way. I'm able to travel to the ship. They don't have to travel to me. I go there. There is where now we're talking multiple dimensions. Okay, now we've got, and part of that is let's talk about vibration, because these ships are alive and at a certain vibration that will allow us to see them or not, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can speak to that from my personal experience, and just so you know, a lot of people will attest to that in their own in their experiences as well. We talk about vibration and frequency, and really all the universe is vibration and frequency. So as we know, our brain consciousness here in what we call three-dimensional reality is pretty narrow and limited. I mean, as wonderful and rich as it is not the whole story. And until one has an experience through meditation or through contacting a highly spiritual person or group or an ET craft, whatever you have, you won't know that there's something else possible until it happens to you and you go, oh my God, and then you settle back into your regular state, and you go, I want to go do that. I mean, it opens people up. Okay, let me give you an example of the vibration you talk about and frequency. The experience that set me on this path as an adult into wanting to do more ET communication and to founding ETLetsTalk.com was an experience that happened during a week of nightly ET contact at Mount Shasta, California in 2006. What happened, and I'll just summarize it, is that at the foot of the mountain, around midnight, after a group meditation out on the edge of a clearing that was in the woods with the majestic mountain rising in the distance, Mount Shasta is beautiful. About 9 or 10 of us watched a small sphere, which I think was a scout craft, about 6 feet in diameter, right on the edge of the clearing there, slowly materialize, kind of phase in, floating above the forest floor. And it was opaque so that you couldn't see inside it. To me, it had looked like grayish color. Now, you talk to the other 9 people, and they may have perceived it in slightly different ways depending on their perception, on their abilities, their openness. Some are more psychic than others. Some are clairaudient. So you're going to pick up different parts of what we call this elephant, you know, the blind man and the elephant feeling a trunk, one feeling a nose, and all that. This is my experience in that it was a sphere, and I was about, I don't think more than 8 feet away from it. And my jaw was just dropping because I had never seen anything like this in my life. And it stayed semi-materialized. It wasn't like it looked solid. And I sure as heck wasn't going to go up there and try to see, try to touch it. Nobody else did, but we were really hushed for about half an hour just watching it until it just slowly phased out. But you know what? In that half hour, some of the psychic members of the group that were gathered there watching it floating had a communication telepathically from the occupants, and they told us aloud what they were hearing. And what they were hearing was, hey, we're scientists. We're here to study the human energy system. And so it was a research vessel of some kind. And the cool thing was that there was a woman, a friend next to me, who during that half-hour period was very still, standing stiff like a board, and with her arms out, if I recall, like this, for half an hour. Now, try holding your hands out. They're going to get heavy and want to fall, but she was oblivious to that. She wasn't moving, and I noticed her because I was standing next to her, and I'm going, oh, okay, something's going on. She stopped talking. She's standing there, trance-like, arms out. I don't know what's going on, but I was aware that should she show some kinds of distress, we would, jump to it and help her. But I let it go because I understood that maybe some experience was going on. Later on, she told us the story that what was going on for her is that one of the scientists approached her energetically. She was pretty psychic,
right?
And in a telepathic way asked her if the scientist, he or she, who never learned, could merge with her energy system to study it. And she didn't do this out loud, but in her mind, unbeknownst to any of us what was going on, she was basically saying, okay, I'll agree, you can do that. But here are the 3 conditions. And she spelled them out and said, number 1, I stay reasonably conscious about this. I don't want to just be knocked out, not remember anything, or not be aware of my surroundings to some degree.
Right.
Number 2, you will leave and depart when I ask you to. And number 3, no messing with the sex organs. There's a little bit of fear there, all the stories that are told, and I'm not going to get into that and judging right or wrong. I'm not either. I'm not right now. That's not what I want to get. But she was clear about that. And this scientist, this entity, agreed to those conditions. So as she stood there, the experiment was going on, however they were doing that. And towards the end of that half hour, then I suddenly saw her wobble, kind of come to a little bit more, and she was very disoriented. I don't remember what she was saying, but it kind of wasn't making sense. And I, held her and with my hands and said, tried to steady her. And, are you okay? Are you okay? And she was. She got her control back and told me the story at that point of what had happened. And it was actually at that point then that the ETs must have finished, because as I watched the sphere, it started like dissolving, fading out slowly, like you would see a fade out in a movie, and just blending, and suddenly it's just the forest again. It's not there. There had been no noise, no smell, no vibration from it. 2 members of our group, though, had suntans. They had sunburns on their face. This is midnight, in the dark. Yeah. And it wasn't like anything that hurt them, but they apparently had been more sensitive to the energies of this manifestation than the rest of us were. So you can imagine that that was life-changing for me. I can't speak for anybody else, but I thought, I want more of this. This is real. I've known people throughout my life that I trust who've had up-close and personal stories, like literal flyovers of their car where the engine died, who saw UFOs that close, and I believed them. But there's nothing like having your own personal experience like that, as long as you trust yourself and don't try to talk yourself out of it. But there's nothing like having that to make you really internalize it and change you in some way. Right. And like I said, the way it changed me is that I'm doing this now with the community.
Right. You took action, because I'm sure a lot of people can have experiences like that and then just shut down.
And some people do. They may have grown up in environments that, say, religious environments. Not that I'm picking on religious, but that comes up quite often.
Yes.
In strict ways of thinking, which is, oh my God, that's evil. They're demons, or whatever. And so people do shut down. Their families may not understand. They see a difference. They try to talk. They can't. You're right. There's a variety of kind of follow-on actions, and clearly not everybody takes the path I take or that you might take, which is, I want to explore some more. They may have to process it, or they may go off in other related directions. And,
and I don't think there's any accident as who gets to experience this. And also there's this element of intention that I think is pretty powerful, especially whenever you get in these groups like that, where the whole team has the same intention, the same openness, the same love and trust. To step into this arena, I can't imagine, you having fear or, sarcasm or, an attitude, and be in a group like these groups are for serious intenders.
They are, and people sometimes have fear coming into it, and it's not something you can judge. You know what? Before I had this experience, I came to this week-long ET Contact retreat with a little bit of fear. I grew up with science fiction and bug-eyed alien monster movies and all that. I loved that as a kid. So, of course, that was imprinted in me. And yet I was still fascinated by UFOs from a young age. And I knew people that had their own up-close and personal experiences. So when I saw this opportunity to spend a week and maybe having my own experience, it was with mixed emotions. A little bit of fear, some excitement. Have you ever seen like a kid who is going to try something new, a young child, and you see that fear and excitement at the same time. And usually they go ahead and try it, and many times they love what they did, and they look back and go, what was I afraid of? Well, that's what happened to me. I had to overcome my patterning with that. And I want to tell an additional story that's related to all this, about how different contact comes and how it changed another person's life. During that same week, for example, let me back up. Before I came to the week, I had talked to my wife about this, and she's a professional clairvoyant and has been for years, so totally open to
right.
paranormal things and extra-dimensional stuff. So she said to me, I know that the ETs are here. That's clear. The UFOs, ETs, they're not really unidentified. They're identified. We know they're here. And she knew they were here. But she said very clearly, I don't understand. I don't see how they affect my daily life. So I don't feel compelled to come with you on this week-long thing, but go, have fun. You have my full support. So with those words, even the fear I had, it's like someone telling me, it's okay. You know, when you come back, no matter what you say, I'm going to listen and not make you wrong. So that's how we went. Now, here's the cool part is that I was so excited every morning during that week after we had been out the preceding night for multiple hours, seeing things in the sky for the first time, having ground phenomenon, all related to this contact. I would call her in the morning and bend her ear for like an hour about what we had seen, real excited. And, you know, we were separated by 4.5 hours, long drive. So she was back home and listening. Long about, I think, the fourth morning when I called, before I could start my usual narrative, you'll never believe what I saw last night, you know? She said, stop right there. She says, I've got a story. And I go, say what? Okay. Not knowing what to expect. And she said, well, last night, as I turned off the light in our bedroom, I just slid into bed, gotten the pillows just right, laid back, and, you know, was getting ready to close my eyes and go to sleep. She said, suddenly, with my open eyes, not my clairvoyant vision, because she has internal clairvoyance, but she doesn't see auras externally and all that. So she said, I wasn't asleep or anything. It wasn't psychic. With my physical eyes, at the foot of our bed, there were 4, maybe 5 beings standing there, about 3.5 foot tall, white, translucent. You couldn't see features, but they were humanoid, 2 arms, 2 legs, kind of large heads. And they were clearly there. And she says, I was startled, not scared, but just taken aback. Like, you don't expect it to have this happen. She said, and so she was speechless. But she did say that she felt a couple things. They were kind of, in her mind, she could hear them saying, who are you? Who are you? They were very inquisitive. They were wondering, who are you?
Wow.
So she thought that was odd. But also at the same time, she felt this wonderful, sweet love coming from them. You know, just like beloved, this love as they're looking at her going, who are you?
Yes.
Now, what we surmise is that they found me up in Shasta doing my thing up there, you know? And I'm talking to her every day, so they're following an energy cord, is my guess, from my heart to the other end. Let's go see what's at the other end of this little rainbow here. They found her, and that's why they were asking, who are you? Now, why is this guy talking to you so much, you know, maybe? And she said they were there for several minutes, and she was so dumbfounded. In retrospect, she should have asked him a lot of things, like mentally.
Right.
But she couldn't. She's like, the only thing she could manage was to ask them was, where are you from? Hey, what's your sign? No. Come here often? No.
Right.
She said basically, where are you from? And she says that slowly in her mind, syllables formed that kind of became a word. And it was like, sounded like, and this is her sounding it out, Arcturus. Arcturus. Now, she admits that she's not even an astronomy person, right? There's a lot of knowledge about other things, but unlike me, she was not an astronomy nut. So that word meant nothing to her, really. And she claims maybe she had heard it along the way in her life and it just kind of came up at that moment. So there might be an explanation for that in her brain. But on the other hand, there might not be. So she says to me on the phone as she's telling this story, and my jaw's hitting the floor. Oh, by the way, they faded out too. So she's saying, Arcturus, is that a place? They go, yeah, duh. It's a red giant, 40 light years away. Doesn't everybody know that? And I may have my numbers wrong, but I think it is a red giant star, which has its scientific meaning, and it's so many light years. I go, yeah, it's well known. She goes, okay, that's what I heard. Take it or leave it. But see, that was her experience that she didn't expect. And the next words out of her mouth were something like, "Next year, cowboy, I'm coming with you." This is the woman who said, "Go, have fun. I don't know why they're here. Doesn't affect personal life.
It's not about me."
Yeah, until they show up, at
your bed.
And going, "Howdy doody." And in the subsequent years, we've been on many retreats together and have had other experiences. And what's really cool is she brings her psychic gifts that I don't have as well developed, so that she's picking up stuff and describing it to me on the ground that I'm not. Like when ETs are literally nearby us, that she can see them or feel them or sense them in some way. And that just augments the whole experience. And that's what's cool about a group, getting back to what you were talking about, Sheila. When a group with intention and love vibrates together, harmonious, coherently like that, that frequency is what is most easily picked up by the spiritually benevolent, developed ETs. And they love it.
Yes, they do.
And when you have that many people, all with different abilities, again, what you pick up, someone else may not see, but they'll see something you don't. And when you start talking with each other, you can put like a jigsaw puzzle, all the pieces come together with a larger picture that benefits everybody. You see more of a whole than any one person could have seen alone. And in a way, that's how our community works too. When I have an experience and relate it to somebody in Lithuania, and they tell me something they saw, we both benefit by learning a little bit more about, in a fuller way, what incredible variety there is. So it's synergistic. Again, the powers in the group and the group benefits in this way. And it's greater than the sum of its parts.
Well, and on a certain level, when a community comes together, even like this, where it's a virtual community, there's circuit connections, there's vibrational connections between everybody, and that's what makes that ripple. I was shown at the beginning of my second season here that we had created such a firm foundation here at Heart Talks, and that there was this golden ripple of love that was encompassing the whole planet, because I've got guests from practically every continent here now, and there is this appreciation and gratitude and love that comes from the freedom to speak our truth, to speak our experience, and to be supportive and not have to speak it in any other way to try to comfort somebody else. And these communities, whenever if you're standing up here and looking down at this community, if you just saw them as little lights all over the planet that are standing together, and how easy, I feel like the scales are really starting to tip now. We're not waiting for the government to have disclosure. I know there are a lot of people out there that are waiting for this big disclosure that, maybe it's going to happen and it will change things, but there's so many of us who are not waiting for that. We have already disclosed.
Yeah, we have. You're right. And it's empowering when you do that. All you have to do is tell your story. Most of us are ordinary people, but we can do extraordinary things just by, as you're saying, speaking up and speaking our truth. And that is hard to do in our environments, at least in the West and the United States. I can't speak for other cultures because I haven't lived in other places long enough, at least with knowledge of this topic. But here in the U.S., it can take an act of bravery to speak about this. But I'll tell you something that's real encouraging is, compared to my youth a few decades ago, and now it has so opened up with the public. I think a couple years ago, a Huffington Post poll. Now, it was an online poll, so people can say it wasn't scientific. So it was a poll of their readers, right? Whatever demographic that might represent. But it's at least some numbers to work with.
That's pretty big.
Yeah. It's a major news outlet, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Probably hundreds of thousands, maybe millions, few millions
Right.
of viewers. Anyway, they asked, "Do you believe UFOs are here? Not just do they exist?" And I think that I'm trying to remember the exact number because I'm a numbers kind of guy, and I pride myself on getting this right. But I have a memory that can be approximate. But nonetheless, I think that maybe 58% of the people said yes, they're here, they're now, and another 5 or 6% were on the fence about it. So anyway, maybe 7%.
That's
Anyway,
good numbers.
Those are good numbers. You add them together, and what you get are almost 2 out of 3 people that responded there are basically saying mostly yes, they are, or I'm open-minded about it. So basically, that's huge. 2 out of 3 is quite a majority. Now, does that represent the American population as a whole? I think there have been national studies, polls taken that show really 2/3 or 3/4 of the public that believes UFOs are real. So there you are. That's pretty amazing territory, and it's a lot easier to speak about it. But you still, these days, have to be careful in the workplace and choose. But we are disclosing. It's a lot easier to tell that story and not wait. And it makes you feel good. I told my story. Someone accepted it. And what's really cool is then when that person comes back and says, "Can I come with you the next time you go out under the stars?"
Right.
And I hear that a lot. Like, "Hey, Kosta, my brother approached me out of the blue, or my husband or my wife wants to come out. And we went out and we saw something that we knew was real. And now they're interested." So this is happening. It's going on person by person. The ripple's out there.
Okay, some people are going to probably think you have to go to some special spot to see this.
No.
I just have to get out of the city and get out of the lights and just look up.
I know.
I mean, they're out there.
They're out there. Hey, I've been in my backyard in metropolitan areas, and because I know what to look for, even near major airports, I have seen craft that flashed at me and let me know they were not planes by behavior, by changing colors, different things, even as if there were planes landing in the distance and stuff. So this can happen almost anywhere. People should be in a place where they feel comfortable, physically and safe. Middle of an interstate, not a good idea, but find yourself a spot where there's not too much noise, where you can meditate by yourself or with the group, or in your living room. What I want to describe is what many people will do, like when we do our monthly meditations with the global CD5 Initiative.
Right.
In my location, we gather in the living room. I lead a meditation for 5, 6, 7 minutes, and then I have people visualize as you were saying earlier, seeing the points of light on Earth from space, visualizing everyone around the world during that 24-hour period that we're all getting together and coordinating, being together in the mind's eye, connected by light, and being a single organism, a community of communication and outreach and love. And I have them send out beams of light into space and to connect with ET. And the ETs out there are in federations. They're organized way better than we are. So it's like these two groups coming together, being aware of each other and connecting. And during those 5 to 7 minutes, I verbally do that. I also read the locations of all the people who've written to me, where they are and how many people they are in all the different states and the countries that are joining in that month. So that helps my group members there in our living room get a feeling for the fact that there are real people in Gdansk or in Australia somewhere or in Paris or in a neighboring town or in a neighboring state. Real people who have written in that are saying, "I'm joining, I'll be there," during the 24-hour period. So that helps my group to really feel like they're part of a community and it's not some abstract thing, just names on a piece of paper.
Right.
And then we do a free form meditation. I tell people spend the next 15 minutes doing your own kind of contact, kind of customize it. So I feel that that's kind of a blend where I give some structure of something that's common to all of us, and then everyone is free within the unified group field to kind of do their own thing. And we're all kind of seasoned at this, so we have our own ways of doing it. And then afterwards, we debrief, and we go around the circle, and whoever wants to speak says, this is what I got. Often we will have ETs that are present with us. They will be felt as energy. They will be seen as lights. Sometimes we get telepathy. And then after we share, by enjoying each other's company, talking, socializing, having good food. And then if the weather is fine and hospitable, we gear up, put on what we need in terms of clothing, grab our lawn chairs, and we go to our field site and set up under the stars for the next 2 or 3 hours. And then have our experiences there. We do another short meditation out there just to align and get it started. And then it's time to look at the stars and see what happens that night. There's some nights.
Night goggles?
We don't have them, but sometimes people will visit who do. Yes, we love those. You see 10 times as much. Yeah, I'll bet you have too, because just the fact that you mentioned them means that you're aware of them and probably have used them.
Yes, it does make a difference. I wish I could do this with my eyes.
With your own eyes, yeah.
Yeah, right. And okay, so if somebody wants to join in with this huge group that you've got, I mean, boy, if you're going to join something, 11,000 people already, 100 different countries. I mean, here's somewhere where you can meet people. I just want to say that hanging out with like minds is so beneficial. Since I've been doing this show and I get to hang out with all my crazy people, I have been so empowered. I am growing. I am becoming more. It feels so good to have so many people with like minds. I so totally encourage people to start hanging out with like minds. And if this is something that you're really, truly interested in, how can you find a group near you?
First, at etletstalk.com, ETLETSTALK. There's no apostrophe, capitalization's not necessary, etletstalk.com. The membership's free. You just get on like you do in other social media and create a profile, password, an email, sign on, and you're in. And there are different things on the website. There are reports from other people's experiences. There are membership pages where people upload their ET art. You can comment on other people's posts. And what's really cool is there's what we call a CE5 member map. And again, CE5 stands for Close Encounters of the Fifth Kind, which means human-initiated encounters, not just passive. And again, we're back to the thing of being active instead of passive. CE5 is a human activity. And there's descriptions on the website of how to use the basic CE5 protocols to get yourself started with ET contact. Many people will customize those, but as long as you can zero in on the core of those protocols, which involve being in a mindset of goodwill, an intention of love, an open invitation, an open heart, an open mind, then you've got the basics there, and the ability to visualize the network and visualize beams of light going out into space and visualizing the place on Earth from space to show them where you are. You can start your contact just that way. It's that simple. It's not costing any money. It's not hard, and you can do it alone or with friends. So that's the CE5 found on the website. There's a map there, and there's an ability to click on one of the tabs, which creates a support ticket that alerts me and my webmaster, Annie, that you have an email address and a location and would like to be visible to other people and be put on the map. And it's that simple. Within a day or two, depending on our workload, you'll appear on the map, and you're able to look at the map and see all these other dots there and zoom in by state or by country to find people near you. So we're trying to build that map all the time so that people can find each other. Now, this movement isn't yet big enough that it's guaranteed everybody who goes to that map is going to find someone next door. I wish that it were, and that's always a laudable goal. We're trying to get more people up there all the time. But what I want to say to people is, should you not find someone like right next door, or even in a neighboring town within driving distance, I still encourage people to proactively reach out to others on the map. Like, you might say to yourself, hey, there's someone there in London. I don't know them, but hey, they're on the map because they want to be contacted. So they're likely going to answer. Send them an email, contact them. And people have built up great friendships, and maybe they will never meet, or maybe they make arrangements to meet, but that's how you build a community, by reaching out of your comfort zone a little bit, literally out of your geographical zone, and making friends elsewhere. And here's the cool thing. You never know when that friend you made halfway around the world knows somebody in your town who's interested in this. And
You're
I'll tell you
5 people from knowing everybody.
That's it. Actually, it's down to 2 or maybe 3, but
cool.
Yeah. And I'll tell a quick story about how this can work. I had someone contact me from, and I'm not making this up, Roswell, Georgia. Hi, Kathy. And I'm maybe not remembering all the details of the story in the right sequence, but it basically boiled down to she was in a place in Georgia that she just said, there aren't people, there isn't that kind of interest around here. I feel isolated. And I would say, of course, to her, like I say to everybody, well, reach out on the map, or I'll try to connect you with people I know. At least you can have an email correspondence and get started that way. Well, lo and behold, a short time later, I'm contacted by a group of 3 people. It was a mother, her daughter, and her daughter's boyfriend. And they said, we'd like to meet someone nearby to do this. Chances are there's no one nearby, but we're in Roswell, Georgia.
Uh-huh.
And I said, really? I know somebody. I connected them via email. They lived a mile apart from each other, like down the road, wow. And they never knew each other or something like it. It was really like, and there again, you got to reach out, because you never know the universe. If you're meant to meet, the arrangements get made, the connections get made, and you find your tribe.
Right. And so you may have stories. People out there may have some stories, and this would be a place for you to go and say, hey, one time I saw this. I mean, that is where you can go and tell your story and not get made fun of or shut down. I mean, because it really feels good to be able to tell your story. So there is another really good, even if you're not, going to try to join other people, to just have a place to tell your story is awesome.
I correspond with hundreds of people. Don't ask me how I do it. My nose is on the computer a lot. You can ask my wife. But it's a joy. And right now, things are on a scale where I can still do that. I can't write volumes to people, but I so enjoy hearing from people where they are, a certain experience they've had. We can trade a couple emails, and then I kind of have to move on because there's someone else who wants to talk and has something to say, and I talk to them on Facebook or via email. By the way, email, you can reach me at Kosta@etletstalk.com. That's KOSTA at etletstalk.com, and I'll do my best to respond to whatever it is you have on your mind. The day may come, and I hope actually it will come, when I have, many thousands more people, where I scale up, and this thing has really grown, that I really can't give the kind of personal attention that I like to give, and have the personal connection that I have now with people. So I'm in a sweet area right now where we're just big enough to really have something cool going, but it hasn't overwhelmed me, as long as I don't need sleep, but I do. And so I have to pace myself. But, it's such a joy. I've made I'm so lucky, blessed by all the people who've come to this. I've made friends all over the world. And because I live in the San Francisco Bay Area, many of these people, for reasons of vacation or business or something else, will come here. So I don't have to do so much traveling, even though I like to travel. People come through here or to here in this part of my world all the time, and I get to meet members this way, and have made friends that way, and that's a special thrill. Maybe that's true for you too. I don't know.
Oh my goodness! I just don't know how. When we say we feel so blessed, that barely describes how we actually feel. Yes, absolutely. And I'm so thrilled that we finally got together and was able to lay this out. And I hope my young viewers are going to be encouraged to dive into this a little deeper, to know that this is something that is real. It is real, and people out there are gathering together. They're making communication. There's no space between us anymore. It seems like we're really coming together, and it's so beautiful. All right, we're going to have to close the show. Rachel's playing that song, and that means we've got to close it up. Thank you so much, Rachel.
Thank you, Rachel, for the gentle hint.
She's like, I want to go to bed.
For all that you two are doing with your outreach and.
Yep, mine froze.
Heart talks. Sheila, sister.